Hello everyone and welcome back to the 13 Nights of Magic, a series dedicated to bringing you some of the spookiest tales in Magic the Gathering in celebration of this Halloween season. For tonight's video, let's examine a character who is the realized embodiment of insanity, all without having an actual brain. You could say this story is the MTG equivalent to Frankenstein's monster, and like Frankenstein's monster, what do you think happens when you give life and intelligence to something non-living? Well, you get a story fit for Halloween. This is the story of the Mechanical Menace, Memnarch. Memnarch's existence started well before he was the creature we remember him as. He was an object known as the Murari. The Murari was a powerful artifact which granted the desires and wishes of those who controlled it, yet it always seemed to result in the user's demise in one way or another. This magical and mysterious orb drew the people of Dominaria to it like a moth to a flame, allowing it to claim numerous victims. Yet the Murari was never meant to be this powerful of an object. It was actually designed as nothing more than a probe by the artificial planeswalker, Karn. As he received his spark, Karn left to explore the multiverse, but still wanted to monitor his home plane of Dominaria. He sent out these probes of his own making to ensure his homeworld would stay safe, but one was defective and ultimately became the Murari. As the Murari was causing chaos on Dominaria, Karn was busy creating a new home for himself, a plane that wouldn't feel so foreign to his artificial body. On his travels, Karn found that death and greed were the only constants throughout the multiverse. Blind to the beauty of the planes, he built a world of mathematical perfection. He named this artificial world Argentum. Karn's life was perfect. His lands had no war, no death, nothing at all really. Soon his life became very boring, and he even started to long for the transplanar travels which marked him as a planeswalker. However, before he could return to the multiverse, Argentum had an unexpected guest. She called herself Corona, and without getting into the complex details of this character, she was basically the living avatar of all the mana on Dominaria, created by the deaths of 3 other women. Corona was searching for meaning and a home after being banished from her homeworld and found herself in front of a metal man. They discussed about Dominaria, for they were both born to this world and they both left it. Corona described the horrors of the Murari orb, to which Karn claimed responsibility and guilt. Corona confided in Karn, saying that he was no more at fault for the Murari as she had been for being what she was. For lifting Karn's spirit and clearing his conscience, Karn transported Corona back to Dominaria. Unfortunately, Corona's good intentions soon faded to pure madness, as she let her overwhelming power warp her into a tyrant. Karn saw this through his probes and decided, with a heavy heart, to intervene on behalf of Dominaria. Karn located the defective yet powerful probe, Murari, and converted it into a weapon, a sword. He granted this sword to those who sought to end Corona's rule, and with the betrayal of her only friends, Corona was killed with the Murari. At the end of it all, Corona split back into the 3 women who had originally forged her. 2 had already died before her creation, but the other, Jessica, ascended as a planeswalker. Karn found Jessica and the Murari and brought them both back to his world of Argentum. Karn saw this young planeswalker and realized how similar he was when he first got his spark. She was scared and confused. Karn agreed to mentor Jessica, guiding her as they traveled through the multiverse together. But Karn couldn't just leave his world completely unprotected, so he decided to make golems to occupy and maintain Argentum while he was away. He designated one golem, the one in charge of protecting Goldrune, Karn's castle, as Warden of the Plane. To aid the Warden in his duties, Karn gifted the construct with the Murari, placing the energy-rich orb at the center of the golem. The Murari infused the Warden with enhanced intelligence and self-awareness, granting it the memories of everything the orb had experienced up until that point. The Warden wandered his creator's world, learning everything he could. It came to learn how the world itself was created and how truly empty it was. The one thing the Warden noticed, however, which he couldn't figure out, was the existence of the Blink Moths. The Blink Moth are small artifact insects whose presence seemed very strange on Argentum. Watching these fake creatures live as if they were truly alive is what inspired this warden to bring true life to Karn's world. His first act in transforming the world to be more lifelike was to rename the plane Mirrodin after his previous existence as the Murari. While controlling the other golems on the plane, the self-named Memnarch began terraforming the surface to make it suitable for life. When this was complete, Memnarch began destroying the other golems and started to repopulate Mirrodin with living beings. He accomplished this through the use of soul traps, devices which could transport living souls from one plane to another. No one is quite sure how Memnarch created these devices, but most believe that the Murari orb had at one point picked up this knowledge from mages on Dominaria. Using the soul traps, Memnarch abducted creatures from all over the multiverse over the course of centuries. As his world started to become populated, Memnarch discovered a threat befalling the new residents of Mirrodin, the Mikaelsons. This was a strange metallic fungal organism which spread spores throughout the air of the plane. These spores converted the flesh of living creatures into metal, while also turning artifact creatures into living organisms. Memnarch's ideal of a living world was threatened by this fungus, which found its way into the world's core. He was able to halt its spread, but the damage had already been done. He discovered that this fungus originated from Phyrexian oil, a corrupting fluid which cursed whatever it came into contact with. The fluid had come to this world accidentally by Karn himself, who unknowingly carried it with him. The Phyrexian oil tainted the purpose of every artifact it contacted, even Memnarch. The warden started to slip into madness, seemingly obsessed with the travels of his creator and the desire to visit other worlds. Memnarch started to experiment on the Blink Moths. He found that a serum made from their blood could enhance the intelligence of those who consumed it, granting him even greater understanding of the multiverse. He became addicted to this serum, which further altered his mind and quickened his descent to madness. Memnarch now dreamed of becoming a planeswalker, like Karn. In secret, Memnarch began harvesting living creatures from Mirrodin. From his castle, the Darksteel Citadel, Memnarch searched through his minions, the Murari, for populations of creatures who could potentially acquire a Planeswalker Spark. All throughout, Memnarch plotted his greatest scheme yet, transforming the entire world of Mirrodin into a world-sized machine, which was capable of transferring the Planeswalker Spark from one being into himself. Fearing that his creator, Karn, would sense his plans for the plane, Memnarch constructed a planal barrier which barred planeswalkers from entering or leaving the world. Though Karn would eventually discover Memnarch's actions, he was unable to intervene, leaving him only capable of piercing the veil telepathically. Memnarch's search efforts finally bore fruit when he discovered an elf who had a latent spark. Her name was Glissa Sunseeker. Memnarch became obsessed with capturing this elf, who was yet unable to use her ability to planeswalk. Glissa proved to be more difficult to capture than Memnarch anticipated, eluding his golem agents while she plotted her revenge against the Machine Lord, who had slaughtered her entire family in his search. Glissa was ready to face Memnarch once she recovered the ancient and coveted Kaldra artifacts, armor which when put together summoned an avatar champion. Glissa took the fight to Memnarch within his citadel, having her champion defeat every golem Memnarch threw at her. However, during the fight, Memnarch managed to gain control over the Kaldra artifacts and effectively stole Glissa's champion. Luckily for Glissa, she had made many friends and allies during her campaign against Memnarch. One such friend, Bosch, the last remaining golem created by Karn on Mirrodin, stepped in to fight the champion. Bosch ultimately defeated the champion by sacrificing himself, destabilizing the mana core of Memnarch's spark transfer device, giving birth to the Green Sun, destroying the Kaldra champion and foiling Memnarch's plans. Foiled but undeterred, Memnarch was left with little recourse. His plans before had been subtle, but his patience had run far too thin. The Darksteel Citadel lay in ruins, his grand schemes were in shambles. Where manipulation had failed him, Memnarch turned to total brute force. He converted his Vedalken worshippers, a race of tall, thin artificers, into shock troopers. He allied himself with the commander of the Nim, a race of humanoids who had become zombies thanks to a necrogen gas which existed in their swampy home of Mephedros, and turned his own terrible artifacts against anybody who would harbor Glissa. Backed into a corner, Glissa forged an alliance between the Goblins, Leonin, and Elfin armies. In a joint attack, they struck at the heart of the Mephedros, hoping to stem the onslaught of Nim that poured out of the swamp. In this attack, Memnarch trapped Glissa for 5 years in a temporal bubble. Her allies were captured, and with the assistance of the tortured Goblin Slowbad, Memnarch altered the devices he had planned to use before. The new power source was to be the very souls of the inhabitants of Mirrodin. As Glissa stayed in stasis for 5 years, the surface of Mirrodin was torn apart by war. It appeared that Memnarch was ready to destroy the last of the resistance when Glissa was finally freed. Escaping his grasps once again, she managed to rally those remaining of Mirrodin's population. In a last desperate charge, Glissa and the forces of Mirrodin assaulted Memnarch's last stronghold, something Memnarch was counting on. Glissa basically served herself up on a silver platter. As she was again captured by the Titanic machine, it looked as if Memnarch would finally become a planeswalker. Seeing no other option, Glissa did the only thing she could think of and charged right at Memnarch. Together, they fell into the swirling pit of the raw mana core of Mirrodin. The device shattered and collected Glissa's spark as she died. With Memnarch also being destroyed, the soul device transferred the spark to the Goblin Slowbad. With Memnarch's death, Karn was then again able to return to his long-lost home, which he could barely even recognize. With the soul trap destroyed, the souls of all those creatures captured during Memnarch's reign returned to their original planes. Karn then restored all the lives lost on his own world. Using the stored spark of Glissa, Karn cast a spell which resurrected everyone, including the elf herself. With the end of Memnarch, Karn took the Murari and left it in Glissa's care. She and her allies would be the new rulers of Mirrodin. And that, my friends, is the story of Memnarch, the tyrannical ruler who transformed Karn's world of machines to the rich habitat of Mirrodin. He altered the state of the plane in order to reach his own malicious goals, goals corrupted and twisted by jealousy and Phyrexian oil. As a part of this 13 Nights of Magic series, along with this video, I'll be giving away a copy of Memnarch to one lucky viewer. To enter for your chance to win this card, all you have to do is be a subscriber to the channel and leave a comment on this video. Remember, each Night of Magic brings with it a new story and another chance for you to win a card, so stay tuned to see what other monsters of magic are offered this October. This series and its giveaways are brought to you by abugames.com. abugames.com is a leading online store for all things Magic the Gathering, and I highly recommend you guys checking them out. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider throwing it a like and sharing it with your friends. It goes a long way in supporting future content. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.